Hello, welcome back. Something's changed. Yeah, I've gone from caterpillar to butterfly. Isn't that wonderful? I heard the story of these ladies that swim every morning. I think around St. James, and they go swimming there and that, and they send photos, and it's really fantastic. And they wanted, there was this young guy sitting there, and they didn't know if he was Christian or not, and they kind of debating about evangelizing and how they're doing that and that sort of thing. So what they do is they ask him to take a photo of them, and so he says, yes, absolutely. And while he's about to take the photo, they say, please make us look beautiful. And he turns to them and says, God has already made you beautiful. Fantastic. That's, what a privilege. You know, I wanted to... I come from Cape Town, as you know, and we've been out of Cape Town for 35 years now. And Jenny and I have really got into this, what do we need to let go of? And so we are now Pretoria capital supporters. And not my Cape Town. I'm so sorry. And I asked Jenny the other day, would you wear a Blue Bulls jersey? And she said, absolutely. So, Stormers, I'm so sorry. We needed, after 35 years, we needed to let go of something. We needed to get behind our city. And that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So let's begin this second session with a question that may feel slightly uncomfortable. What if the real risk facing the church today is not hostility from the outside, but hesitation from the inside? Any hands? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. What if the real risk facing the church today is not hostility from the outside, but hesitation from the inside? What if we're not declining because of lack of faith, but because we are unsure what faithful action looks like at this moment? Remember the example of the salt in the currency? Salt is no longer the currency. We have something else, and we need to adapt to that currency. So let's explore what it means to rediscover ourselves, not as providers of a service and managers of a program, but rather a missionary family. Brothers and sisters, formed as disciples sent together on mission. Thank you so much for coming back. I'm so glad that you came back, and I hope that you got some value out of the session earlier, and you got some value out of those conversations around what do we as a leadership team in our churches today need to let go of. And I can't wait to hear what you have to share. You see, in cricket, there's this tricky moment between innings where the team have looked at the scoreboard and they know that what didn't work, and they've spoken honestly in the dressing room. And you've been in the dressing room now, and you've come out of that dressing room, and you had this honest conversation of what didn't work. You're looking at the scoreboard, and hopefully something new has been sparked in you and your team. But now comes the real test. Do we go back and play differently? Or do we just do what we normally do and end up getting the same results? Or do we walk out onto the field planning to play reverse sweeps and doing things that aren't traditionally accepted in the cricketing world? This moment that you're going out now determines the game. And that is where we are as a church today, and we reflected on what may longer bear fruit. Now the question shifts. If we are not simply preserving a parish, if we are not simply maintaining structures, what are we invited to become? What are we invited to become? I believe that we've been invited to rediscover ourselves as a missionary family, not as an institution first, not as a service provider, but a people formed by Jesus and sent for the sake of those who are not yet there. Let's take a moment to explore what it means to rediscover ourselves as a missionary family. So the first point is start forming missionary leaders, not just church managers or caretakers of the aquarium. When cricket embraced T20, it required adaptive leadership. It was the same pitch, the same rules, but a different pace. New shots were brought in. But the culture has shifted. The culture has shifted in our communities today, in our neighborhoods. We need to be looking for leaders who are discern culture rather than react to it. They discern culture rather than react to it. They lead change pastorally, and they form others intentionally, ensuring a sustainable leadership pipeline is in place. I had the benefit of working with Alpha for many years, and I worked across sub-Saharan Africa, and the value that I've seen through lives being transformed through the use of Alpha, people coming to know Jesus in a really special way. I've seen the value of that transformation. But more importantly, what I've seen, that when people come on Alpha as guests, we invite them back onto the next course, onto the team. And then they are trained on hospitality, they train to pray for people, they train to welcome people and be inviting. And so there's a pastoral leadership pipeline that's been formed here. And so we invite them back again to the third Alpha course. And then they start learning how to lead small groups, how to facilitate small groups. We get trained again on training and prayer. And a leadership pipeline is being formed. A leadership pipeline is being formed for them to move into ministry, to start new ministries, to grow the spiritual life in the parish. I think there are three things that happen when people's lives are transformed. And I think transformation is important. The three things that happen is that the person's spiritual life becomes more healthy. And when their spiritual life becomes more healthy, the parish becomes more healthy. The second is that when people's lives are transformed, they want to serve, they want to be part of things. Thank you very much for those hands. So when we complain that there are no volunteers, my question is are you following Alpha? Are you doing Alpha? What's happening to those people in Alpha? Are you talking? They are saying they want to serve. So if you're looking for people, hang out at Alpha when the courses come into a close. The third thing that I think happens when people's lives are transformed is that they give more. They give more. And so I see that from a secular point of view, if you want to grow your church financially, transforming people's lives are going to have an impact on that. And I've seen churches that have gone from nowhere to somewhere because people's lives have been transformed and they are serving in the church and people are giving more. And every year the giving goes up because more people are transformed by the Holy Spirit. Pope Francis says every baptized person is a missionary disciple, not just a disciple, a missionary disciple. And we spoke earlier about our identity that begins at baptism. You see, when I was baptized, I didn't understand it because my parents spoke for me. But that missionary identity shaped my life before I even understood it. In Ephesians 4, you will find this verse where where the writer is talking about apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers. And those are charisms that every single one of us have. Every single person in your church today has at least one of those charisms. Apostle, prophet, evangelist, shepherd, teacher. Go and look at Ephesians 4. The challenge, of course, is as you start looking at leadership in your parish, is that if you just have shepherds and teachers leading the team, there's never going to be any evangelizing. There's never going to be any going out and bringing people in. So sometimes as a team, we need to look at each other's charisms and learn to work with that. And I found the APEST assessment to be really, really helpful. And we'll share the link with you. The second thing is we must start designing church with the unreached in mind. I've been at some churches just this week, and the interesting thing in the suburb, and there's flats all around, there houses all around, and I wonder if those people that are just on the neighborhood wall of the church even know about Jesus. where there are people sitting right on our doorstep that can be invited. I was having pancakes the other day, Shrove Tuesday. I hope we all were involved with that. But imagine what a lovely place to invite those neighbours for a pancake, in the hope that they will want to know a little bit more about Jesus. You see, T20 cricket didn't change the rules. It changed how people are welcomed, not just as spectators. Again, you must see Jenny today at the T20s, and she's talking like she's been there all the time, and it's Diovolt this and Quinton that. She's even on first name terms with the players because she's loving it so much. She's the one jumping up with the 6 and the 4 and the South African flag. She's the one excited. That's an entry point for her into cricket, from a space where she knew nothing to a space where she's more animated than I am. And I love it. Our date nights are all that's enduring. Because I know that that's the place that she loves to be, and she gets excited. And we had a West Indies guy behind us the other day in one of the games, and he was bantering, and all of a sudden Jenny was bantering back as well. And I thought, oh my word, will I make it out of here? But all in good fun and in good stead. You see, there's DJs at these games now, there's music at the games, there's 100 catches that are happening. The women are involved, the children are involved, the families are involved. It's just an unbelievable place. And I thought to myself, I wonder how a church can look like that. How creative can we be like the T20 cricket is when they bring people in and people are singing and cheering and participating. And that's the key thing that I'm learning from T20 cricket today, is that people are participating in everything. And I was so excited that Jenny even took this home with her. This is when there's a 6 or a 4. Jenny had this, and she's cheering and all. And I thought I better get mine out and do the same. And you can see that there's a fast food chicken outlet that sponsors that, and that reminds me of the story. Jenny and I were travelling on this farm road the one day. And as we were riding along, there was this bird that ran past the car. And, our immediate thing is it's a guinea fowl. It must be a guinea fowl, can't be anything else. And suddenly there was another one that flew past us, and we couldn't make out what was going on. And the next minute there was this bird running alongside us, and Jenny said, my word, it's a chicken. And this chicken is running at the same speed of the car, and they're running across the way. And Jenny said, but those chickens have got 3 legs. I thought, what are you talking about? And we kind of carry on, and next thing, and we found these chickens had 3 legs. And so we stopped at the farm, the farmhouse, and we went to talk to the farmer about it. And he's telling us the story, and he said to us, he said, we love the drumsticks. My wife and I love the drumsticks. And when Junior came along and he loved the drumsticks, we needed to do something about it, so we started breeding 3-legged chickens. So Jenny was amazed and said, well, what do the chickens taste like? He said, I don't know, we can't catch them. True story, the part that we were on the road on the farm, not the chicken. But here's the thing, is that story, that farmer was creative and dreamt of something that nobody would believe could happen. So what can happen in our churches today that nobody believed can happen? What is the next currency? What is the cryptocurrency? What is the next thing that we don't know about that can be done in our churches today? Jesus did not wait for humanity to climb up. He came near. He got in the game with us. He met people where they were at. And so we ask, are we designing parish life primarily for insiders? This may mean explaining the why of the Mass, creating a relational on-ramp for people to come into the church, connect groups where non-Christians are welcomed and included. You see, the gospel doesn't change, the sacraments don't change, but we invite people into it may need to change. The third point is start creating pathways, not just events. And you may have heard the bishop speak about this, the pathways. And I often wonder if we have a pathway in the church, what does that look like in going forward? We spoke about a vision earlier on. Do we have a vision to look forward to? Where are we going, or are we just trundling along? You see, T20 created developmental pathways. There's T20, there's 1 days, and then there's tests. So it starts at grassroots, where more people are playing the game now. Even women and children and girls are playing cricket. Who would ever have dreamt that that would ever have happened? And yet it's happening today. There's different formats, but clear growth. In parish life, we often offer events, but no clear next step. You see, the example that I gave earlier on is I was taught to behave, I was taught to believe, but I never felt I belonged. And the church traditionally talks about believing, behaving, and belonging in that order. And I believe we need to switch that around. We need to find a space where people believe, where people belong first, even before they believe. Thank you. That people belong first, even before they believe. What does it look like today to bring a non-Christian into Mass? Most of us, when people come into Mass in funerals and weddings and they don't know to stand or sit, we kind of get a bit agitated with them, don't we? Because we assume faith. But where's the space for us to bring people who are unchurched into, that we can journey with them into the Mass? That they can belong before they believe, and then they can become missionary disciples. You see, belonging is through relationships. Believe through formation and encounter, become through mission and service. That's through discipleship. If we want disciples, we must build pathways, not just moments. Our bishops speak about that. So that's what we need to start. Let's look at what we need to continue. We need to continue guarding the deposit of our faith. It's the same pitch, the same rules, the same gospel. The sacraments remain the same, the teaching remains the same, but the methods must change so that the mission can remain faithful. That's called stewardship. The second point of continue is to continue deep formation of the sacramental life. You see, Test cricket still matters. It forms endurance and depth. I often wonder about catechists. I often hear from them to say the children are not learning, there's all these challenges and that. And I often wonder, are we not trying to plant seeds on soil that is not fertile? How do we evangelize those young people before we catechize them that we can plant seeds on fertile ground? And the key thing in our parishes today is to say to ourselves, what does the soil look like in our parishes? And are we planting seeds on fertile ground? You see, there are two farmers that can plant the same seeds next to each other, and one farmer can have an amazing crop and the other doesn't. It's the same seed. The challenge is that the soil is different, and that's why the crops are different. The third point is that we must continue trusting the Holy Spirit. Renewal involves risk, but not every innovation works. If it's not fruitful, let it go. But the Spirit is the principal agent of evangelization. Our task is not to control everything. It is to discern, to listen, to step forward in obedience. If we could put that up, please. I'd like to just put this, this is the Rogers Innovation Curve, and you as leaders, I'd like to share this with you in two ways. And the one way is just to say that people process things differently. I don't know if you were in a meeting where something was shared and some people responded to it immediately, but other people didn't respond to it immediately. The fact is that people need time to process things. Some people need time to process things, and some people take a longer time. But the point that I want to share here with this bell chart, you see, on the left-hand side, you have the innovators and the early adopters. When I'm talking to priests and encourage them to cast their vision to people, and what we find after they casted the vision, people are coming to Father after Mass or after time and say, Father, I'm on board. What can I do to help you? How can I move this mission forward? Where do you think those people are here? They're the innovators. So there'll be a small group of people who will get on board immediately. And then you'll have the early adopters who will come to Father and say, I like what you're talking about, I'd like to process this, I'd like to think about this, but I'm in, I'm on board. And those are the early adopters. And what I want to point out to you here is that this works in churches, in businesses, wherever it's being tested, is that 16% of people will pick up things quicker than the others. And it's not to say the others are bad, it's just the way that it is. And we as a group of leaders need to identify who those 16% are in your parish. Who are the faithful, available, the contagious and teachable people. Faithful, available, contagious, teachable people. Faithful not just to the church, but to everything they do, their family life, their marriage, their schoolwork, everything. Available. When they say they're going to be there, they're on time, they're there for the duration, and they stick it out. Contagious, thank you. These are these people that are influential in your church, who people are attracted to. And teachable is that humility to learn as well. And these are the people that make the best leaders. And these are the people that when you consciously start looking out for them, that you will start finding them. And those are the ones that need to be invited in. And not invited in by putting something into the bulletin or talking about it after church, is inviting them personally into something. Because the personal invitation is what drives people. You'll see that the early majority and the late majority are a bigger group of people. Now those group of people will come on board when they see the fruit of the innovators and the early adopters. They will want to see it. Let me give you an example of it. So Apple launched the new iPhone, okay? People are outside the store from 4 o'clock in the morning to get their new iPhone. Where do you think those people are on this chart? They're the innovators. They're the ones who want the iPhone. They'll be there 4 o'clock. They'll wait. They'll sleep outside the shop. The early adopters will be the people who will wait until the queues get a bit smaller, and they might go there at 12 o'clock to get their iPhone. The early majority and the late majority will wait to see what happens with the operating system before they buy their iPhones. So they will wait and see what happens before they buy the iPhone. And those on the outside, those what we refer to as laggards, these are the people that don't want change in the church and that will come to Father and say, Father, if you do this change, I'm leaving. And the answer should be, we will miss you. Because we cannot allow the grumbling, we cannot, because these are the voices that are the loudest in our parishes. But we must love them and pray for them still. We don't ignore them. But we need to spend our time in that 16%. Because what happens in that first 16% of the innovators and the early adopters, when the others see the fruit and come on board, the culture of your parish will change. Guaranteed. Now you might ask about the 16% of the iPhone example that I gave you. Well, they're the Samsung people. They are not going to change for anything. So let's not pour our energy in there. Let's not be distracted by them. We must never compromise the mission to appease the grumbling. Still invite them to join the party though, because the party is important. Just in closing, Pickett survived because he chose mission over nostalgia, and the church will flourish when the leaders choose mission over comfort. Not changing the gospel, but changing how we invite the world to encounter it. Father James Mellon, the author of Divine Renovation, writes this in his book. If you want to grow your relationship with Jesus, get in the game. If you want to experience nurturing and caring, don't wait for the priest to show up at your door. Get in the game. If you want to experience the fullness of the Christian life and have the Eucharist come alive truly, get in the game. Friends, perhaps that invitation is before us as well. not doing everything at once, focusing on what needs to be focused on, the 2 or 3 things in the first 6 to 8 months. Just one faithful step. But I want to encourage you to get in the game. Amen.